Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Wilma the Wonder Hands podcast. I apologize in advance because you will hear Punky raising Cain in the background. She is mad that I am not paying attention to her and doing this. But today's guest is Melissa of Feathers and Fashion. Melissa has worked in the drug and alcohol field since 2003. She has worked as an addiction counselor for 13 years and as a clinical supervisor for 6 years. She eventually was promoted to the executive director position of a licensed treatment facility that provides individual, family, and group therapy. Melissa is also a chicken mama since March of 2019. Melissa discusses with us some of her failures, the mistakes that she's made, and things that she's changed along the way, and things that she has learned. And I believe this will be of value to you. So many great tips in this episode. And we always say where education fuels compassion. So the more we know, the better we can treat and be of help to our flock. Let's go, y'all. Hey, y'all. I'm Mel, and you are listening to Wilma the Wonder Hen. Are you a chicken mouth loving mama or daddy? Together we'll dive into the latest poultry keeping adventures, chat about everyday life, with a generous mix of some hilarious stories. Bringing you fascinating interviews with poultry owners from all over. You'll find tips and basic advice from your local veterinarian, along with new chicken keeping gadgets and reviews. I'm going to see what Mr. Jangles and Wilma has to say about that. We're going to encourage and help you build a stronger, healthier flock. Let's go see what Mr. Jangles and Wilma is up to. Let's go let these heifers out. Okay, welcome back, beautiful people. Today's guest is Melissa of Feathers and Fashion. She is a very smart lady, and she graciously agreed to be on our podcast today.
How are you?
We are doing wonderful. We are so excited to have you with us. Okay, Melissa, can you tell us a little bit more about you? I know our listeners would love to hear what you do.
So I live in South Central Pennsylvania, and I work for a 501c3 nonprofit. We are a recovery community organization, and I am their program director. I started out in the field of drug and alcohol probably about 18 years ago, I guess it is by now. I started out doing direct service and an outpatient provider. I'm a real life legit counselor. I'm a drug and alcohol counselor. And I was there for a while. I eventually became the executive director while I was there, clinical supervisor, executive director. And then I felt it was time to move on. And that's when I found this nonprofit here in Pennsylvania. And I am their director of programs. Most of the programs that I oversee are medication-assisted types of recovery. So people who are struggling with addiction that maybe need Suboxone or Vivitrol, that kind of thing. So I oversee all the coordinators. Almost all of my staff are people in long-term recovery themselves. And this is a passion of mine because I grew up in a home where there was alcohol abuse. So I have some of those, what they call ACOA characteristics, which I think help me. Yes. I've got all the good ones, I believe. Yeah. So I can empathize, I can relate, and it's just my passion. I love to see people get well. Fortunately, some of my people that I even had as clients, I've had as employees as well. And in fact, my girl, wow. One of my girls that cleans my house, she celebrated 7 years yesterday, and I'm just so proud of her.
That's pretty amazing. I think that's kind of why we connected on our Instagram, not just because of the chickens, but I noticed you were posting some of those types of things. And I did grow up. My father was an alcoholic. I mean, a severe alcoholic. He died in his early 50s with his liver was trash. And then my baby sister, actually, she OD'd 10 years ago on Thanksgiving. She had an issue, and I don't know. I don't remember her ever having outlets like you. we did try, different avenues to help her, but obviously if you don't have the desire to change, for me to say, I just know that it just seemed like nothing was helping her.
The whole peer specialist is kind of a newer thing. It's probably maybe about 8-9 years into the field of drug and alcohol, where my coordinators that work with our participants have literally walked in their shoes, and there's so much stigma out there. There's so much loss of hope, and my coordinators are able to give people hope that we do recover. You can get your life back. You can get your kids back, your house back. You can get a job. You can go back to school. You can do all these things. You just have to be able to manage your disease. And it really gives people hope, knowing that their coordinator has overdosed, their coordinator has been Narcaned, their coordinator has been to jail for a while. I've had people who have been upstate for years. And because I have some prison programs, they are perfect in that job, perfect for that kind of position, because there's a culture in prison. And to work with the inmates, you need to know that culture as well. So I am also a certified family recovery specialist, since I am on the family side. So I am certified in that too. And then I'm a certified recovery specialist supervisor. So I have as many credentials, letters behind my name as I do in my name. So it's a lot sometimes.
But what you said, I think maybe is what I was trying to articulate. I don't think that, I think they become hopeless. Like there's no getting out of it. So back then, I guess the things that we tried were more just medical, not necessarily the emotional part of it, the feeling like someone understood and not feeling like you're a freak or something, and there's nobody out there.
So many different unique types of places pop up all over the country, which are phenomenal. The recovery community organization that I work for, we're the only one that actually operates out of 2 states. We also have offices in Florida. So we're here in Pennsylvania as well in Florida. But there's lots of recovery community organizations popping up. And there's also, lots of different types of treatment facilities that just do phenomenal work. Absolutely phenomenal work for anybody who's willing to go. And that's, sometimes the hardest part is getting the time to be able to go to treatment, to be able to spend that time on yourself. A lot of people don't feel that they're worth that time.
Yes, that ties back into the hopelessness, feeling, not worthy, not good enough, no one's going to care that, we have this. But that is a very deep conversation. And I know that's part of why I just totally love you, is all that you do for those people. And so how did you get into chickens? I can't fit the two together. How?
No. So I think it's genetic too. So I did not grow up on a farm, but both sides of my family actually were involved in the chicken industry. My grandparents, my dad's parents, they actually raised chickens and had a stand at market, went to market, sold chickens. So, my dad's joke is always, whenever I have a chicken with a problem, his thing is always, well, they never lived here that long, because, they were, they were broilers and stuff like that. Yeah. And on my mom's side, I actually have relatives that, they have those really large, the large barns where they get the people in. Yes.
Yeah.
So houses. They did that whenever I was little. So I literally grew up, whenever we would go visit that side of the family, it was, are there peeps in the barn? Are there peeps in the barn? That's all I wanted to know, is if there were peeps in the barn, because, my uncles would, bring me a box of peeps to play with for a couple hours. So, once we built our house and we got dogs, and they're Yorkies, and that terrier instinct is very strong with the kill sometimes. And the joke was always, well, Ace, is mom allowed to have chickens? And it was always, haha, no, because he'll kill them. So one day my husband was like, here's a couple pictures. Which one of these chicken coops do you want? And I was like, yes, finally. So I picked out the coop that I wanted. And
we love a chicken daddy.
He is like an underground chicken daddy. It's totally underground.
That's okay. That's okay.
So we bought the coop and we put it together, and we quickly realized this was not going to cut it. It's one of those teeny little ones that you just get your arm into, and we're like, oh Lord. So
Yes.
we began looking on Pinterest and everything like that. And he designed and built me this coop, and it is fantastic. He actually started it in our pole barn, and then he moved it outside with a skid loader. So it's a coop and a run, and then he smushed them together.
Oh,
And
that's awesome. Yeah.
he thought of so many details. Like my door into the run is actually on a slider. It's like I have to step up and over, and then there's a slider. So it's not like they can get out. I mean, they can get out, but it's very difficult for them to get out with me going in. It's not like a door that just opens where they could get between my feet. So like just the attention to detail like
Right.
that he
Yes.
did. We've added on to, we've had to rearrange things, add more nest boxes. Then we added what we call a day run, which is like an uncovered run where they can go out and dust bathe in the mountain ground. And there's an expansion plan for that in the near future.
That is awesome. We love a chicken daddy who is underground, who doesn't make any noise. We just give him a list and he goes for it. That's a
He's
true hero right there. Where did you get your chickens?
I was very impulsive.
Uh-oh.
Went to Tractor Supply, went to I'm very fortunate that I have like two very close to me. So I went to the one in my hometown, and they didn't have any chickens. And I'm like, what? So I went over the mountain to the other one, and they had chicken. And that was my first mistake, because I was very impulsive. I hadn't done a lot of research. I bought 6 straight run babies because I wanted chickens and I wanted them that day.
Oh.
And the law of odds got me, and I ended up with 3 girls and 3 boys.
Oh, no.
Now, I realized it could have been the other way. I could have ended up with 6 boys.
Yeah. Yes, you could have. Absolutely. You got a half glass or half empty or whatever. It's half full. Did you keep all of them and then add more girls?
So everyone was telling me, you can't, that's a bad ratio. You can't have that many boys. You can't do it. I was determined to prove them wrong. And then my alpha boy proved me wrong. He got into a fight with one of my boys one night. I have a silky boy. So he's a little bit more like laid back, and he's cool with not being the alpha. So, my 2 were fighting. And so I knew what I had to get rid of him. So I was very fortunate to find a farm to take him. And in that process of taking him to that farm, I had also found a woman online who was getting rid of some girls. So my sister and I loaded the rooster in the truck, and we went for a road trip. We dropped off the rooster, and we went to this girl's house, and in her backyard, she had these tiny little chicken tractors that were like teepee shaped, and they were shoved full of chickens. And my sister, she was just horrified at the condition that these chickens were being kept in, because she knew the conditions mine were being kept in. And she just was like, oh my God. So I was going to take 3, my cereal girls, Cinnamon Toast and Crunch. And the girl was like, here's another one. Do you want her? And I'm like, no. My sister's like, no, you do. You want her. I'm like, okay. So 4 chickens. 4 chickens.
Oh, I love your sister. I don't even know her.
They were their feet. They were just so dirty. They didn't even have names. So we brought all 4 girls home, and I did take a huge gamble. And I know that I gambled that night because I did not quarantine. I don't have the ability to quarantine. And so I know that I took a huge risk that night. I did the look, no touch, free range type thing so that they could see each other. And then at bedtime, I put them all in the coop. And I was very blessed because everyone just got along, and I had no disease. I was just very, 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 very blessed that nobody had a disease.
I love that you brought that up, though, because that is a teaching moment just for our listeners. And they've heard it many, many times from us that, quarantine, quarantine, quarantine. So, yeah, just nothing against you, Melissa. I mean, most of us probably in the very beginning, we had no idea. We were just throwing chickens from left and right and mix them up. Why would you separate them? They're just chickens. So, yeah, that's a very teachable moment. And I appreciate you being honest about that, too.
I know I'm grateful, very grateful. So I still didn't have my ratio right. I had 2 boys. I still didn't have enough girls. And that's whenever I found out that you can get chickens in the mail. It's just
Amazing.
wonderful. So I did some research this time. I looked at the different hatcheries, and I actually chose one closest to me because I was scared for these living tiny beings being in the mail system. So I chose the one closest to me.
Yeah.
And I've had success both times I've ordered from them. I ordered from them last spring, last May, and in the March before that. So twice now I've gotten mail order babies, and they've been healthy and no problems. My post office calls me, I go running in, and I am so happy that everyone is safe and alive whenever I open that box.
Oh, I love that. I love that you went local too. I appreciate that too. A lot of times I try and tell people that there are local breeders, maybe give them a chance. Nothing wrong with the big online. I understand that, but it also cuts down on, the shipping stress. And where are we at right now?
We are at 18 right now. I lost a girl on New Year's night. I lost Crunch. She was the last of those girls that I had bought from that woman. She was an ISA Brown, Golden Comet, whatever you want to call them, high production girl. And I had already lost her sisters. I lost one to egg yolk periodontitis. And I lost another girl to internal infection. She had been laying lash eggs, and I was, again, determined to save her, and I couldn't. So I had her put down. I didn't want to see her suffer any longer. So I lost all 3 of those girls. I lost that extra hen as well. I believe she had either a heart attack or a stroke. I came home one night and she was dead on the coop floor. I have 3 cameras in my coop, and I backed it up to see what happened. And based on what was happening with her, I believe it was either a cardiac event or a stroke.
Yeah. Oh, bless her. How long did they stay with you? How long before their passing?
Oh, let's see. So I got those girls in July. And I started to have problems with cinnamon laying lash eggs in November. And then I probably had both of them put down the following spring. And then Crunch, they were about a year whenever I got them from her. And Crunch would have been 4 in March. Yeah. So she lived a while. I mean,
yeah, she lived a long time for a production bird. Yeah. Definitely. Only reason I ask is I know it's very sad when you lose them and you try and fight all that you can to keep them. But I also just wanted to kind of put in your mind that they probably lived longer, way longer than they would have at their original place.
Yes.
So that definitely touches my heart.
And that's what my sister tells me.
To know that you gave them extra time.
That's what my sister tells me.
That's why I love your sister.
Yeah, she says, they had such a better life here.
Yeah.
And then I've lost a couple other girls as well. I lost Henrietta. Henrietta was probably my first big time learning moment. I put too much trust in my boys, into my 2 roosters. And what I was doing is I was having my dad let my chickens out for me around 3 p.m. He lives next door and he's retired. And so he lets the dogs out for me twice a day. So it it was winter time. They were in bed whenever I got home, so they weren't free ranging a lot, and I felt bad. So I had him start to let the chickens out at 3:00. I'd get home at 5. They were in bed. I'd tuck them in, count them, all good. It was the Friday before daylight savings time was to start. So it would have been the last night that they were being free ranged unattended, because after that, the time would have changed and I'd have come in home and I'd have start free ranging them under supervision. I came home that night and the chickens should have been in the yard because it was getting lighter, and they weren't. I couldn't see them when I pulled in the driveway, and I freaked out, and I came running into the backyard, and there was a hawk. And he was on one of my girls, and she was far, far gone. So I was devastated. I was angry at my boys, but at the same time proud of them because they did at least get all the other girls to safety. All my other girls were hiding under some stuff we had in the backyard, and they were safe. They were scared. But that was my biggest learning moment, and they do not free range without supervision anymore.
You get comfortable of letting them out. It just takes one time for one loss, and it's like your whole attitude about it just flips. You can't get your bird back, but you also kind of can't go back to when you didn't feel that way. Does that make sense? Like, you felt so free and, it was no big deal. And then when something happens, it's hard to shake that feeling. So we do all we can to keep them.
Yes. And then my other loss, was my Gertrude. She had an overmating wound, and I've learned about overmating wounds because my ratio was off. I didn't have enough girls to boys, and I had 2 girls actually that had been sliced underneath their wing by the roost spurs, and so I became very keen to checking my girls after whenever they were roosted to make, just put my hands under their wings to make sure I don't feel anything. And sure enough, Gertrude had an overmating wound, and this was just this past May. And so she was very flighty. She wasn't quite as tame as the rest. She didn't like to be handled. And I brought her in. She wouldn't let me clean it up. So I am very fortunate that my vet will work on my chickens. They aren't an avian vet. They're just women with flocks of their own. They're fantastic. I love them both. And they tell me, this is all experimental. We'll do what we can. And I took her in, and her wound was worse than any of my other girls' wounds. The other girls, they stapled them together, gave me some cream, and they were all back to normal. They were all fine. Gertrude's was a little bit worse. And she actually had to put her under to try to staple her shut. And she said she was just finishing her up and she lost her.
Oh,
that one was
sorry.
Hard because the vet was even shocked that she lost her because she was young, she was healthy, and she thought she would be fine. So the vet was even surprised that she lost her. So that was sort of my final straw, and that's when I decided I need to get rid of my one Roo. He was a little bit big for my girls, and the 2 was too much. I had new babies coming, but obviously it's going to be a while till those babies can be in there. And I felt that the girls didn't have a good quality of life because of this. So I was, again, so lucky. I found a girl down the street, like 6 miles away from me, that needed a Roo. And I took him down, and the girls fell in love with him. She had this little Polish that I put in. She didn't quarantine either. I just put him on the ground, and they took right to him. That little Polish was just follow him around. Like, she was just enamored by him.
A happy ending to a story. Yes, definitely your girls are top priority. Too many Roos. We went over this in the podcast prior, but yeah, sometimes you can get away with a older rooster who's more mellow, more calm, with a smaller number. It really just depends on many different factors. But I appreciate you that you had the eye the desire to watch and see what's going on. How are they behaving? How are they acting? And that is definitely another teachable moment of spending time with your birds, even if it's just, looking at them. Are they foraging? Are they eating? Are they, those types of things, cues to pick up on. So yeah, kudos to you, Melissa. And that leads me to my question. Do you have any tips that you would give to chicken keepers?
Be educated. Read. Watch your girls. I mean, they are my de-stressor. Work is stressful. We lose people and stuff like that. So it's stressful, and the chickens are my getaway. I go up there and I sit with them, or I let them out to free range and watch them. We actually just put in a fire pit up by the chicken coop so that when it's cold, I can start a fire and be out with them, because I hate cold. So that's just my relaxation, and my unplug is just to go up there and watch them play and fight for worms. And it's just so much fun. But yes, just be aware of your flock, know when their behavior is off. And by reading, that's how I learned that you need to, when the tail's down, there's a problem. So I had found a Facebook group, and I just would read the post. People would post a picture with this problem, or, mites or whatever. And I would just read all the comments, read all of the information that was given to this person, to try to help their flock. And I know, there's this person's opinion and this person's opinion. And I understand that what works for one person doesn't work for another, but
Right.
Still, I was just reading this so that I would be aware if there was a problem and have half an idea of what to do.
Yes, absolutely. Very good. Very good tips. Do you have any other tips for, say, someone who's getting chicks this coming season?
Don't do straight run. Unless you can fix it, don't do straight run. I love my boys. Don't get me wrong. I love the Roo that I got rid of. I'm still in contact with her. She sends me pictures. I sent him a Christmas present. She said I can stop by anytime I want. But getting rid of somebody is really hard, really, really hard.
Yeah.
So if you can't handle that many Roos, please, please, please try to order ladies, get ladies.
Yeah. Good tip. Yeah. Especially if you're not the space for it, with a rooster, you definitely want to make sure there's extra space, give the ladies places to go and hide when they're not, feeling like it, and for their well-being. So yeah.
There's so many ordinances out there too that don't allow a Roo. So, I see a lot of people that say, oh, I can't have one. Well, it's planning. And I understand sometimes they mess up at the hatchery whenever they're trying to sext, but, try your best to know your regulations too.
Yes, very good point. Because if you're just doing straight run and for a fact that you can't have a rooster, I think that just adds to the heartache. So yeah, being proactive and knowing your regulations, your ordinances, and those types of things. Yeah, definitely. Where do you see yourself and your flock moving? Do you have any goals for the future for your flock?
We're going to do this expansion on their day run. So right now their day run is uncovered. It's just covered with the aviary netting, and then they have a covered run as well. But that's where they go out and, play in, because I throw leaves in there and stuff like that. They dust bathe in that mountain ground, which is really great for them. But I want to make that space a little bit bigger. So that is definitely in the plans. I want to try not to get new babies this spring. I'm at 18. I think I'm good. I want to really try to focus on my garden this coming year.
Yeah, gardening is definitely, I think that's why I got so aggravated at them, because it takes so much work to make your garden. And then they were just going in there and just destroying it like a bunch of hoodlums. And I was so mad. Okay. If we don't have anything else to add to the conversation, I'm going to ask Melissa 3 random questions and see if she can give us some fun insight. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. If you could be any animal, what would it be and why?
Wow. Any animal. I don't know that I'd want to be a chicken.
I know I don't want to be a chicken.
I think I would want to be something that swims. I think I would want to be like a dolphin or something like that lives in warm water. I think the whole swimming and the dolphins is just so graceful. And I think I would like to be, a graceful creature in warm water.
Oh, that is probably one of the best answers I've had for that. That's very unique. I love that. Okay, if you could put anything on a billboard, what would it be and why?
I think it would have to be something about my job. It would have to be something, every addict is someone's child. Every addict is someone's sibling. Every addict is someone's family member, because there's so much stigma out there and people don't see the person behind the disease.
Where is your most favorite room in your house and why?
So, I have a ridiculous closet. I think we maybe figured that part out with the fashion part of my handle.
Yes. We'll have to see some of that.
It's ridiculous.
We need you to share some of that on IG.
I will. I definitely will. So, my husband is really, really handy. We've been married for over 24 years. We built our house together and everything around it. And I needed more closet space. So we have a 2-car garage. So he actually took the roof off the 2-car garage and added a second story on top of the 2-car garage, which is my closet.
No, he did not.
He did. It is enormous. It's mostly like IKEA types of stuff that we put together to make my closet unit. So I have lots of different units that I can separate my different, fancy clothes, work clothes, chicken clothes.
I'm so jealous.
It's huge. It's got like a peninsula area in it for all my perfumes. It's got a sitting area in it. I have over 150 pair of shoes, and that doesn't even count flip-flops. Flip-flops don't count as shoes. Over 150 pairs of shoes. The purses, jewelry. That's the other half of Feathers in Fashion.
Oh my gosh. I am intrigued now. I have the tiniest closet upstairs. To see this,
I will definitely post some pictures. I need to do some straightening up in there today. Anyways, actually this Saturday is my girls' sleepover night. I have 3 girlfriends from college. We're all very, very close. And once a year they come over, we do our Christmas gift exchange type thing. And they spend the night because that's the responsible thing to do. And they all have kids and I don't. So that's why it's at my house. So, we will hang out in there with a glass of wine and just relax and talk. And that's my space.
That sounds amazing. That really does. That's wonderful. But yeah, we look forward to seeing these pictures.
Absolutely.
We are so grateful to have you on. It is we are very lucky and very blessed that you agreed to come on and speak to us and share your story. Your story is pretty impressive, and we are forever grateful.
Well, thank you for having me.
Until next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
I'm Mel, and you are listening to Wilma the Wonder Hen